Welcome back. The Attorney-General George Brandis remains in deep trouble this morning, accused of misleading Parliament over a damaging public feud with the nation's second highest law officer, the Solicitor-General. I'm joined now by Minister for the Environment and Energy, Josh Frydenberg. G'day, Josh. And Shadow Transport and Infrastructure Minister, Anthony Albanese. Morning, Anthony. Nice to see you all. Josh, first up, how much trouble is George Brandis in? Scale of 1 to 10.
1. He's in no trouble. He's in no trouble at all, and I think Albo, after the resignation of Sam Dastyari, is looking up to even the score. But the reality is, George has consulted with the Solicitor General. He said that he hasn't misled Parliament, and he's a very effective Attorney General.
So he's not going to resign?
He's certainly not doing that.
OK, so George rejects the advice on the same-sex plebiscite, says he consulted the Solicitor-General, claims which were contradicted by the Solicitor-General. Then he went to the former Commonwealth Solicitor-General, David Bennett. He obviously has no faith in the current Solicitor-General at the very least.
Well, look, he continues to talk to the current Solicitor-General as well as seeking advice elsewhere. There's nothing inappropriate about that, especially somebody who was a former Solicitor-General and someone who knows, the inner aspects of important pieces of law too.
It looks like he misled Parliament.
No, he hasn't misled Parliament. He's made that very clear.
OK, what he did, though, was he went to a department store for advice, didn't like what they had, so he went online, shopped around for an opinion that he bought that was his own.
No, not at all. He's consulted with the Solicitor-General. He's made that very clear. There were notes of that meeting. It was an hour-long meeting. It was the topic of conversation. And as I said, George is a terrific Attorney-General and will continue to serve in that role.
Obviously, he has no faith in the current Solicitor-General if he's shopped around for a different opinion.
Look, Karl, I think you can, talk about this forever, but the point is, George is doing a fantastic job. He has not misled Parliament.
Is the Solicitor-General doing a fantastic job?
Well, I mean, I've got no reason to doubt that. But it's up to George Brandis, who works closely with the Solicitor-General, to pass judgment on the Solicitor-General. But in terms of that relationship, they've had that meeting, they discussed the issue. It hasn't misled Parliament.
OK, one of them has to go, don't they?
Well, one of them has to go because the position is untenable. Either George Brandis or the Solicitor-General are right. They both can't be when they have diametrically opposed positions as to what was discussed in the meeting. We have an Attorney-General who isn't taking the advice of the Solicitor-General, who's shopping around for alternative advice. An Attorney-General who used to give himself advice when he was Shadow Attorney-General. This is a farcical situation from the first law officer of the land who clearly can't get on with the second law officer of the land.
He's poking a bear at the very least. Let's move on. Anyway, Anthony, the Budgie Nine has been cautioned and discharged, escaping any jail time. Just a little slap on the wrist for the boys. Should Christopher Pyne's staffer go?
Look, that's a matter for Christopher, but I'm not into picking on staffers. Staffers are loyal to us, and I expect that Christopher will have words with him, though. There is a judgment issue here. Josh,
have you spoken to Chris?
I spoke to him not about this, but other matters. Obviously, what happened in South Australia last week with the electricity. But what has happened with these 9 young Australians is they're on their way home, and that's a great thing.
Yeah.
But it's a reminder to everyone: you've got to be respectful of the values, the customs, the laws of other countries, because what might seem like a bit of a joke here in Australia is not treated that way overseas.
Just on South Australia, were renewables to blame for the power blackouts?
Well, look, there's more work to be done, but we said what happened in South Australia was a weather event. There were 80,000 lightning strikes that took place in South Australia, 1 in 50-year weather event. But there are bigger questions, Karl, about the impact that more wind and more solar is having on the stability of the system.
Why did the Prime Minister buy into it? Why did he play politics with a natural disaster then?
Well, we've got to keep the lights on. He's not playing politics. He's reaffirming to Australians that his priority is energy security. And nobody thanks us when nearly 2 million Australians lose their power. People are stuck in lifts. There's gridlock on the roads. People are locked into their own homes in the dark. That is not a good situation in modern Australia. And that's why today the energy ministers from the states, from the territories, and of course the Commonwealth are coming together to keep the lights on. We make no apologies for that. We want a lower emissions future. We support renewables. We've got a bipartisan legislative
What the government should apologise for, Josh, is playing politics with this issue. We had a 1 in 50-year storm event, and the government for days, went out there and tried to imply that somehow South Australia's renewable energy target was responsible. It was not.
But Albo, let me tell you, mate, if you increase wind and solar without the necessary
that had nothing
protections,
to do with this.
Can I tell you?
Nothing to do with this whatsoever.
Well, Albo,
so you shouldn't conflate the two. Energy security should not be linked to this event.
Albo, you're the infrastructure minister. I'm the energy minister. I'm
Absolutely.
the one who's...
I
well, sorry, you're the shadow infrastructure minister.
Well, someone's got to run infrastructure in this country, Josh.
Just
but can I say, we've had the words from the experts. There are serious concerns. You've got to keep the lights on.
And that's about transmission, not generation.
All right. Just
and I hope you know that.
One final one before we go. I've managed to dig up some vision of Christopher Pyne. He's on holiday this week. I've got some vision of him on the beach in the US. There he is, the big fella. Josh, anything to say about that?
It's enough to make you choke on your Wheaties this morning, I tell you, at home.
Certainly.
Think of the viewers. Think of the viewers.
Yeah,
Television's just got turned off, so it doesn't matter what we say.
Can't afford that. Hey, thanks, Josh. Thank you, Albo. See you soon.
Thanks, Carl. Thanks,
Timmy.
Albo.